And in the break, I will announce that Mayor Bridge has declared a conflict on item 13C3, and that is to establish and maintain, you read that, CEO White?
It's just regarding the site plan approval for 2380681 Ontario Limited. She mentioned was his daughter's.
Oh no, I know what it was for, but so now we can proceed with
He left his seat, so you can proceed.
Okay.
Page 521 of 655. Item 13C3.
Okay.
That far.
13C3. Just open it there.
So anyways, 2380681 Ontario Limited, owner operator of Minto Self Storage, proposes to build 2 mini storage buildings with an additional future mini storage building on property municipally known as 55 Minto Road, Palmerston. The additional buildings are in line with the existing storage building for a total of 4,500 square foot each. So that would be 3 times 4,500 or 2 times? 2 times 4,500. 3? Thank you. Clerks, building, and public works staff along with Triton Engineering met to review the site plan submitted with a preliminary proposal of the project. Site plan proposal is as follows, and it's on everybody's report. And any questions? No, hearing none. It is the recommendation that council receives the building and assistance report dated August 2nd, 2018 regarding site plan approval for 2380681 Ontario Limited to construct 2 additional mini storage buildings subject to execution of a site plan agreement with the town requiring, among other matters, the apron must be paved with a year, I take it that's within a year, and a completion of the work within 2 years, servicing, grading, and drainage, and similar being provided to the satisfaction of the town prior to the issuance of a building permit. And further, that the council considers by law in regular session authorizing the mayor, and be the deputy mayor and clerk, to sign the site plan agreement once the landowner has signed. Somebody like to move that? Councillor Elliott, Councillor Dirksen, all in favor? Declare that motion carried. And then I will turn the meeting back over to Mayor Bridge.
You get through those items as quickly.
What's that?
I wish you'd get through these items as quickly as you.
I'll tell you. It's a whole different view down there. It's a whole different view. Anyways, okay, where are we now?
C4.
C4.
13C4.
13C4.
You're in the right place. So you have to go to 14 and only 4.
Oh gosh. Who's? Oh,
No, we
gosh.
step it up. Move it along.
I done okay.
Step it up. That was
This one
Councillor
is on
Dirksen.
the building. Who's doing
Sure,
this
Ron.
one? Are you?
Shell.
Shell? Come on up, Shell. You're on. Here's your pen. Will you give me a pen?
No, that's not mine.
Crime stuff.
Oh, maybe that is mine.
Everybody got one.
Everybody got one.
Back to normal here.
It's a little punchy here.
I know we're getting a little punchy. Welcome, Michelle. Okay, this is on Easement, Forestry, Severance.
Oh, in Clifford.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're in Clifford now.
yes, it is.
Clifford.
So through you, Mayor Bridge, the application to the County of Wellington Land Division is to create a 4-meter-wide easement across the property municipally known as 101 Aurora Street North. And the easement will provide sewer lateral connections to the adjacent property municipally known as 111 Aurora Street North, which is WC Smith Wholesale Distributors, which is currently on a septic system. The parcel is zoned R1A, which is unserviced residential, and the bylaw permits for the installation and or maintenance of water main sanitary sewers in all zones. Staff met and have no concerns, and Any potential issues can be addressed through the building permit stage. So the town standard condition for financial is the only recommendation we have for them.
Questions? None. The council recommends the County Wellington Land Division Committee approve the severance application B85/18 Sherry and Henry
Neuenhoff.
severance, 101, 111 Alora Street, North Clifford Park, Park Lot E, Town of Minto, and the following conditions be considered. The applicant satisfies all requirements of Town of Minto, financial and otherwise, which the town may deem to be necessary for the proper or redevelopment of the subject lands. Judy? And there it is. All in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. There's still one more coming up now.
I have a few. So
Yeah, like you saved them up here. What?
Yeah, be comfortable.
Like let's save
Make
them up.
yourself at home.
Okay. Oh yeah, here we are, and we had Mr. Breeze was here, but he didn't want to wait around, I guess. Go ahead.
Okay, so J&A Degrees Construction is the owner and operator of the proposed industrial building, which plans to build 6,240 square foot structure at 141 Franklin Court. Council may recall that this is one of the parcels in the Palmerston Industrial Park that was sold to Mr. DeVries in 2017. The property is zoned M135 and complies with all zoning requirements. Town staff, along with Triton Engineering, met to review the plan, and the plan has been revised to address any and all staff comments. Highlights which are included in the report, but the developer must also work together with the abutting properties to ensure that all drainage and site servicing complies with the existing properties. But overall, the site plan submission includes sufficient detail to permit approval of the subject up to the execution of the site plan agreement with the town. So we are recommending that you approve the report dated August 2nd and approve the site grading plan subject to the execution of the site plan agreement. And that council considers a bylaw in regular session, authorizing the mayor and the clerk to sign.
Questions? Just a comment. I mean, who would have thought when we built that little piece of property there and made those, that we'd have all these sold now?
Everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And that was only like 3 years ago? But 3 years ago we did that? We built that?
At the most.
Yeah, 3 or 4. And that's totally amazing. Anyways, that's my only comment on it. Good stuff. The council receives the planning assistance report dated August 2nd, 2018, and approves the site grading plan prepared by J. Don McMillan Limited for the GAA DeVries Construction Inc., subject to execution of the site plan agreement with the town, requiring, among other matters, completion of the work within 2 years, servicing, final grading and drainage and loading area and similar being provided to the satisfaction of the town. And further, the council considers a bylaw in regular session authorizing the mayor and the clerk to sign the site plan agreement once the landowner has signed. Mover and seconder, Judy and Jean, all in favor? 2 J's. 2 J's.
We're a team.
Excellent. And one more.
One more.
All right. We know what you've been doing the last little while.
Happens when you don't have a meeting every month.
The building department is very busy,
Yes, they are.
which you'll find out after.
Yes, we're
my
going to see the
report
stats in a
momentarily.
minute.
So this report actually refers to two severance applications, B7618, which is for the Robinson, and B7718, which is for Metzger, all of which comprise 401, 411, 417, and 423 Jane Street in Palmerston, which are the lots that are shown in the sketch. The intent is for B76 is to sever 15,114.7 of vacant land and merge it with the adjacent vacant residential parcel. And B77 is to sever 14,009 of vacant land and merge it with the adjacent vacant, which is a vacant residential parcel. And the retained parcel contains a single detached dwelling, which is currently under construction. So the intent of the retained and newly consolidated parcels are to be developed for residential use in the future. The subject properties are currently zoned agricultural exception, permitting single detached dwellings, and council may recall approving that site-specific in 2016, which allows for the free servicing of the lots during the reconstruction of Jane Street. At that point, a zoning amendment will be required to revise the site-specific exemption, referencing the lot fabric of approved site plan A6387, because this new lot line adjustment does no longer conforms now with the approved site plan that was put together. So staff met, and no serious conditions other than really the grading plan for the severed and the retained portions will be required specifically under B7718. All other conditions are standard to consent applications for both B77 and 76.
Just kind of looking at this diagram here, and you see big lot, little lot, big lot.
Yes,
That-
it's very confusing. There are 4 lots, right? So there are no new lots that are being created. The lot lines are just being adjusted. So the 2 in the middle, one which has the house that is currently under construction, those 2 are becoming smaller, and the end 2 are becoming larger.
I see it now.
I see little arrows, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
Bill, did you?
So I just wanted to clarify what we're trying to do here. And you may recall we signed an agreement to make sure there was going to be room for 6 lots here, because when we rebuilt Jane Street, we put in 6 connections, and we didn't want 4 rural type lots here. We wanted 6 urban lots. So this is continuing on and facilitating that. And we have a 1-foot reserve along the front of this, and we're releasing it in bits and pieces to make sure the development happens the way we want it to happen. So this is facilitating that, and it's consistent with that.
Because we're still hoping for 6 lots.
Yes, 6 lots on Jane,
On Jane.
and then we'll get into the secondary plan later. Eventually, there'll be 6 or more in behind.
In behind, yeah.
And that is still the intention.
Did you have a question?
That answers my question.
There are other reports that will be coming forward.
Yeah. So this isn't what's going to be the final.
No, this is step 1.
I don't know, Mayor Bridge, if you want to read all 6
I-
of those conditions,
I
but
don't
they're
necessarily
standard ones that make sure what I just explained will happen.
Did you see that big long list of conditions?
Yes, and read them.
I
in-
certainly-
Has everybody read those? Can I just say
Orally.
we've read them?
Yes.
And
This one,
I can have a seconder
Yes.
Mayor Faulkner and Councillor Elliott. Yes, and all in
It's kinda weird.
favor, as read, almost. That's a long one. Thank you. All right, Chief Building Inspector. Permit stats. Look at, he always comes when there's stats.
It always
eh?
comes for the
Like
fun stuff,
stats.
yeah.
He likes the stats.
Kind of a delay this time.
I
She's
know.
been a few
You had no
months.
time to give us the stats.
No, I didn't actually. I didn't have time to get a report together. So this is my report for April to June's stats. So April, it was a little bit on the slower side. We issued 18 permits worth 2.3, which is down a little bit from 24 worth 3.8 of last year. But don't worry, we made it up. In May, we issued 29 versus 3.5, which is more or less in line with last year's record year. In June, we made up quite a bit of ground. We exceeded our numbers with 28 permits worth almost 5.2 million, which is up from 26 worth 1.4 of last year. So June was a little busy. So overall, our numbers are slightly down from 2017, but the construction value is very comparable, which is good news for the next part of the year. Residential and agricultural sectors are definitely higher than the previous year. So we've got roughly 20 houses this year worth 7.5 million, which is 4 ahead of last year, and the value is close to 50% more for those. Agricultural is just going gangbusters too. 31 permits worth 8.2, so that's over double from last year. So the agricultural, the barns that we're seeing going up are really helping that. So between April and June, I issued 18 new residential units, 6 in Harrison, 3 in Palmerston, 4 up in Clifford, and 5 out in the country. And issued 4 permits for new barns, so across all different agricultural sectors, so hog, dairy, broiler, and beef. So we're seeing kind of growth in all those sectors. We got a picture on the bottom left. That's a new house being constructed across from the water tower in Clifford. That was in one of the Stevers in the Stevers subdivision, not ours, our Ann Street lots. This is a large addition going on to an agricultural shed. And on the right that's my lovely first electrical vehicle charging rough-in that's required in new houses now. So I had to take a picture of that one because who knows if they'll be here forever.
The photographer was pretty
Boring picture.
It was very boring and fuzzy too, so I'm not a photographer.
Still photography at its best.
It was in focus, though. It was focused.
Focused,
It was
yeah.
It's when Bill zoomed in and went in. So our 10-year average for permit numbers is 91.1. So we're about 10%, 11% higher than that at 102. So things are still looking good. In the chart, we're still second. Basically, last year was a staggering year, but we're right underneath there this year. And the picture on the right is actually a new semi being constructed on one of our Ann Street lots. So this is the one you probably remember we had a minor variance to reduce the setback to it. And so we're slightly ahead of our 10-year average of 9.6 million, so we're sitting close to double that. So we are 200,000 less than last year in construction value. So we're kind of, my chart keeps expanding, otherwise we'd be off of it. So, and that picture there is a large addition onto a dairy barn that just started recently close to Thibodale. So that is all I have. Any questions?
Questions?
No.
Comment-wise,
Keep up the
great.
good work.
Going good.
It's going well, going well.
It's not slowing down, I believe, either, is it?
I'm almost caught up with my permit review, but I just got a barn in Friday, another big residential construction project, and another barn coming in shortly, so it'll pick back up again. So I'm not worried.
Just a question for Terry. What's the workload? Like, is a barn more workload to do the inspections for than a residential house, for instance? Or like, where does the workload? Because just reviewing and approving and letting the permits is only a small part of it, right?
Yeah. For residential permits, besides the review time, which is generally more complex than actually your big ag buildings, I'm there a lot more. So I do 13 inspections on a typical house.
Okay.
Whereas a barn, pretty much regardless of the size, I'm only there about 5 to 6.
I see.
Having said that, though, keeping track of the paperwork from the engineers and geotechs coming through adds to the in-office workload on the bigger projects. So
right.
Probably the most time-consuming per square foot building would be a deck or a shed.
Really?
Because you're dealing more with homeowners than contractors.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's how to build, where to, it's all the questions in behind. I don't mind it, don't get me wrong, but per square foot, those take a lot more, and I lose money on those.
Huh?
So.
Okay. But there's still improvements to our town, right? So.
They definitely are. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Can I have somebody now to receive the reports? Mary Lou and Dave, all in favor?
All right, so my next report is an exemption from our noise bylaw again. As you'll recall, I came to the March 6th council meeting asking for an exemption on behalf of the MTO for the reconstruction of Highway 9. Since then, the scope of the project has changed slightly with them closing the road from Monday morning to Friday. Before it was going to be open to limited traffic, single lane, that sort of thing. The exemption that they're requesting is the same as previous in terms of the timing. So they want to work 24/7 or close there too. So it's the after-hour construction is what they want an exemption from. So staff, we looked at the previous report, what council's position was then, and actually are recommending the same as what was approved before. So if you recall, that's a 50-meter buffer. So all those circles are roughly 50 meters from a house. They can't work within that buffer between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. Unless they get written permission from the occupants of the house, not the owner of the house, but the occupant, in case it's a rental, to allow them to work overnight. And the one thing that council added to my previous recommendation was to reevaluate the exemption based on any complaints that we have received. So that is all the contents of the report.
So I know we're going to come back with when this is happening and everything, but are we expecting it to be right from May through October?
That's the window in the bylaw itself. There's only a max 6-month window that you can ask for an exemption from. So they're hitting the max window. Just they don't know exactly spring conditions when they can start.
We have no
idea yet.
I mean, just that it's periodic and short term. So
Yeah, it's not for me.
the highway will not be closed that whole period by any means.
Okay.
Oh,
Accordingly, it will be, like I said, periodic and short term, but we don't know exactly what dates. But I think it will be open more than it's closed, considerably more than it's closed.
Yeah, and not on weekends.
No, not on weekends.
And so-
It was just Monday to Friday.
So, but that's why I'm saying before when we had the correspondence, it'd be nice to be informed and get an exact thing so we can work on that because we have issues that we had to work around as well. So weather be a factor, yeah.
Big factor.
I assume they're closing it sometimes because of those culverts that they got to do, right? Because they closed. They had put the lights on the one. They had to put like 15 lights up, and whatever. Those cost a lot. So that's probably why they're doing it. And actually, that isn't the road that they're going to use to go around isn't too bad. I mean, at least we've got that. It's all paved. We redid that road a while back, but I'm worried about the speed and the traffic going by. And I don't have to deal with the farm traffic as well because there'll be farm traffic duty, right?
absolutely.
That'll
That's
be
what I
on
was
that.
thinking. Getting up that road to rented land will be lots of fun.
Anyways, but I think you're right, Randy. We got to really get a firm commitment as to how they're going to do it. And that's why I want to have that meeting when we have our, just make sure that there's a little incentive to get back to us on this. Yeah.
Motion.
We need a motion. Have your fault here. Jean.
Jean.
In favor. She's feeling bad. She didn't put her hands
Thank you.
up on me anymore. Sorry, Jean.
Do you think there would ever be a time when they would just close, for instance, the first section of it and then force traffic down any of our roads, like Ayton Road, for instance, or what's this one called? 14th line, I guess.
School Road 7.
And School Road 7, yeah, stuff on that side too. And the only reason I'm asking is, like Highway 9 has a phenomenal amount of traffic, and our roads aren't really built for that kind of wear and tear. So we just need to keep our eyes and ears open for any compensation for those things.
Well, I think that's why we have to be involved in some of this planning. We can't just
sure.
the way they did it the last couple times. Now, hopefully, remember the new government said people first and business second, and whatever. So if people are involved, we should be getting a word in on this. So.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, I'll just turn this over now to I believe because we did the emergency measures. Already did that, so I'm going to turn it over to Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mayor Bridge. There's 4 items on the Public Works agenda today. The very first one is a Public Works restructuring. So I'll ask CEO to give us the lowdown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This matter had been to council in closed session because it had previously dealt with individuals who were under our employ and still are, and so we brought the report in a more general fashion to open council for formal approval of the new structure. The essence of the new public works structure is that we're not creating new positions and we are not hiring a public works director at this time. So the recommendation in the report is that you approve the structure and that you forward it to the next council for evaluation of the for further evaluation and a decision on the public works director position. In the interim, Mr. McIsaac would be appointed as acting manager of roads and drainage rather than roads and drainage foreman. And Mike has been in that capacity since our previous council meeting, has been attending our department head meetings and also providing some liaison between the three for the other two people who run sections of the public works in water and in sewer. So no new positions being created, but some restructuring to anticipate changes that are coming forward in the area of wastewater management. We expect that within the term of the next council, we could see a program similar to water DWQMS for our wastewater programs. So the new structure has a general DWQMS position in it that would be responsible for both. Even if we don't have a wastewater QMS, we still would want to develop our procedures and improve our management around that, and I know that's the way Mark Robertson would like to take it. So no new positions being created, but formalizing a QMS rep for water and sewer and making sure there's a lead hand and a wastewater in both water and wastewater. So those positions would come out of the existing staff, and they would be increasing their training and working overtime toward achieving those positions. So the net change over time would be, I think, in the range of 20 to 24,000 into the future. But remember, we will be facing a retirement in the water section as well, probably within another year or two or less. And when that happens, obviously there will be some opportunity to offset that cost. So we're preparing for the future. We've been talking about succession planning here for a year or two or more. I don't know if I said it quite this way, but we're building a stronger bench for when some of the senior citizens head out of here. So a recommendation.
Yeah.
Whether they're allowed to or not.
Yeah.
Questions? Any questions on this? I know we've had a bit of discussion on it.
Oh, it's good.
So the recommendation is then that council receives the July 17th, 2018 report from the CAO clerk entitled Public Works Restructuring, that council appoint for 1 year Mike Isaac as acting manager of roads, drainage, adding responsibilities as outlined in the report, approves the public works structure as presented, and that it be forwarded for consideration by the next council. Mover and second, please. Deputy Mayor Faulkner. Thank you, Councillor Anderson. All in favor of that motion? Yes, that's carried.
10%.
Thank you. Congratulations, Michael.
It's already done.
More work.
Second item, it's to do with first draft, West Palmerston secondary plan. I'll ask our CAO, Mr. White, to enlighten us on this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a fairly lengthy document in your package, and it's available for viewing online and at later dates. And I'd like to have a public meeting on this document in September. So what I did is a very brief presentation to kind of go through it at a high level, and it hopefully won't take long.
I like the map.
I only got 10%, 9% battery left though.
So the facts are, well, you can refer to the presentation on the screen.
Oh,
Mr.
that's
Mayor.
good. Okay, thank you.
So Minto's going to grow by 3,745 people and 1,330 new homes, or 53 units a year through to 2041. So we've begun our planning processes in Minto to prepare for that growth. The county growth statistics allocate 635 new units to Palmerston in their projections. So their population is going to increase about 1,785 people over 25 years. That's a growth rate of 2.17%. So it's not all that huge, but it's steady and substantial over time. So basically Palmerston goes up considerably in population. There are 157 draft plan units between the Creek Banks subdivision, Claridge Estates, and the Hindmiller Phase 1. And then the second phase of the Hindmiller subdivision in Palmerston would be another 40 units or so. And then there's several vacant properties in Palmerston we've had a look at. Queen Street South on both sides, King at Henry, It's about 20 acres or so, or 102 units at 5 units of hectare. So in total, there's about 260 units on those larger parcels that are available. So if you add those all together, it's 260. And anyway, the bottom line is we don't have enough land in Palmerston to meet all that growth needed. We do have water capacity to handle that, and we do have sewage capacity for 625 households. So you note that the units is 635. So we're very close to having sufficient capacity for the number of households to come, but we don't have sufficient capacity. So depending on over the full time period. So what we're talking about in this plan is beginning to plan to expand the wastewater treatment plant within 3 years and start that expansion within 5 years, so that we put a little bit of money away over time, save our pennies, and we plan accordingly. We'll be able to accommodate that growth. It's assuming our economy continues to be slow and steady. So if we don't have enough land in the urban area of Palmerston to accommodate that growth, well, where should we put it? So the area we're looking at in here is the area between our industrial park on Minto Road and the former landfill site, which is at the end of Norman Street in Palmerston. So that's about 290 acres of land. So if you know that part of Palmerston at all, the Heinmiller subdivision is kind of at the south end, sort of below where Mary Street and Noble Family Road are. We have our industrial park development that's there, and then two larger farms, the Heinmiller farm and the numbered company, which I knew was the Wormley farm. I think other people would know it by a different name who've been around here a lot longer. But basically, we're looking at development of that area. Also in our industrial park, we talked earlier about the fact that we've sold out Frank Lambier Court, and we site plan approved 2 properties today that would see the end of development in those areas. We do have Noble Family Road, but we do have to plan for a sewage lift station at the end of Minto Road to accommodate development on the rest of our industrial land. So the 75-acre Palmerston Industrial Park, we have 40 acres that's developed or approved for development, and 35 acres remain vacant, including the 14-acre certified site, which we can service from the existing sewer that's on Minto Road. But the 18 acres at the end would not be developable without that sewage plant. So that sewage lift station is very, very important. That's one of the reasons why we would want to look at development or expanding Palmerston on the Heinmiller and Wormley or the Ontario Numbered Company farms, because that sewage lift station, if you look at the watersheds that are there, can accommodate and can be placed at a depth that can take sewage from a good chunk of that area. So the development will flow as the roads develop out of this area to that lift station and then be lifted into the treatment plant. So that's a main reason. If we're going to build a lift station there for Minto Road, then we just need to size it so it could accommodate the additional development lands we need. So on that map I'm showing you there, you can see the hazard areas, and then that light blue line is kind of changes the direction of flow. So water on one side of that line kind of flows out towards Minto Road and towards the tributary of the Maitland River, and the other lands kind of flow towards the existing town. But it's not an overly, it's a little bit of a rolling topography, but the bottom line is it can be serviced through that lift station. So that's one of the reasons why we're focusing in on this area. Other little point to make is that little green chunk that's at the end of Jane Street. That's a low-lying, very low-lying area, and the Conservation Authority kind of identified that as a potential floodplain, even though it was never put in the comprehensive zoning bylaw or the official plan. So we've identified that in this document. So just taking things a little further, if you think that we're going to develop this area, well, what would the road pattern look like? And this is a bit of a sketch of that road pattern. We've talked before about what an arterial road is and what a collector road is and what a local road is. So arterial roads are the main, like Main Street in Palmerston. They carry the highest volumes of traffic. So what we see is an arterial and collecting road system that would link Minto Road through Henry Lane and into this planning area. So you can see that sort of laid out in that proposed draft map. Then there would be a series of arterial roads collector roads that would bring traffic to those arterials. So you can see one kind of on the north end of the Heinmiller property, and then one extending southerly into the Heinmiller property as well. We don't see Jane Street extending as a collector road because it's very narrow. So while it might have a local development on it, it would probably be limited to lower density residential. Henry Lane is actually a fairly wide looking road. I know the people on Henry Lane might not be too excited about this kind of thing, but they will obviously have some input into it. But what we're talking about is the future expansion of Palmerston over the next 25 years. So it's not going to happen overnight. And of course, this is just a preliminary plan and a first cut at it. So, but it just gives you an idea of what things might look like out there. The next, sorry, almost done. The next map, is a map showing showing the West Palmerston planning area. And you might be wondering, well, why would we develop this planning area or extend our urban boundary there as opposed to other locations? So this map looks at 3 other locations: the Robb lands to the west of our industrial park, some lands in North Perth, which are adjacent to King Street. I would go as far as to probably we should have a look at the farmlands beside our sports complex and whether that would be another area to grow to, and then also around Creek Bake Meadows. So that just gives you an idea. And in the document, we've looked at, well, why not expand in those areas? Why would we expand the urban area where we're proposing? Then we put some land uses to the road pattern and just showing a couple things to point out here. One, that there is some industrial and commercial in this on the Heinmiller land shown in a preliminary way. Kind of a parkland open space area around the low-lying part of the Wormley or unnumbered company farm, and then low and medium density and medium and high density residential development along the arterial road and collector road system. So that's a very preliminary land use plan. There's a lot of background information in the document about why things are laid out like this. It is only a proposal. There are many other ways of doing it. I think we'd like to go out and get some feedback from the public on what they think about the way things are developing here. Another quick point, there are 2 lift stations that are needed in Palmerston. The one I mentioned at the end of Minto Road, and the other one this council is aware of is at the corner of Nelson and Brunswick. And that would take 19 homes off private pumping systems that are there. If we did do that lift station, it might serve as future development land on Lett Street there as well. So right now, a lot of those homes are pumping their own private sewage to our system. It would be nice to replace that with a town-controlled system. Oh, yeah. If we did that, we might be able to expand the urban boundary and include some land at the end of Lett Street. So the whole focus of why we're looking at this area relates mainly to the fact that those 2 lift stations are needed. So if you're investing there, you might as well invest efficiently and provide for future development for the lands in between. And the last point I'll make is the closed landfill site is a unique problem in a sense for this. We don't know a whole lot about that landfill, but it is closed. The county did some work on it at the beginning of 2000. We think we would be able to decrease our separation from that landfill and allow for the residential development that's shown there, but we will need to do some engineering analysis to confirm that there's no impact from that landfill in the long term. So final point is there also trail system is linked into this, and you can see how it might link through and be used as a buffer between industrial and residential. So that is all I had to say.
Councillor Cornwell.
What about the other 2 urban areas? Are they okay with water and sewer, or?
Right. So you mean the ones that are shown on the A and C?
No, I'm talking Harrison
and Clifford.
Clifford. So we did the North Clifford secondary plan, and it has sufficient water and sewer capacity, as does Harrison. So Harrison's needs can primarily be met within the urban area with the Chickadance subdivision and the Sinclair lands in behind on Low Street. There'll be enough units on those to allow for the kind of growth that's needed in Harrison. But we were talking about that the other day, and we may need to do a little bit of work on Harrison as well, just similar to this, to help us plan for our infrastructure work out there too.
Other questions? Councillor Dirksen.
Not a question, but a comment. Thank you very much for churning this out. This is an incredible amount of information and lots of thought-provoking. We need a good starting point because you can't just say, what do you want? Like, we need a place to start, and then we can kind of mold it and shape it to make it work. So thank you.
The recommendation is that the council receives the first draft West Palmerston secondary plan and directs that the document be circulated for agency comment and a public open house meeting be scheduled in September to obtain feedback. Over in a secondary, Councillor Elliott, Mayor Fisk.
Your fist, did you say?
He was talking about Mayor Fisk. Sorry. All in favor? Against? That's carried. Sorry about that. All right, so the third one, roads and drainage manager. How do you say that new title? That's it, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
I put that on there. Mike didn't. So
That looks good.
Oh, you put it on already.
yeah.
To the parking bylaw, Palmerston Industrial Park.
Yeah, so the first item is just the asking for no parking restrictions for Frank Lambier Court, as well as the future Noble Family Road. We're looking forward to the same sort of uses in both the cul-de-sacs there in the Palmerston Industrial Park, where we're starting to see parking where it's not really beneficial to the people that are using the industrial parks right now in those two locations.
Questions?
So if we stop them from parking there, where are they going to park?
They'll probably end up parking back further, and it won't be as accommodating. Back
I know
further
the
in
trucks
industrial
are
park.
like
Yeah.
same as Timmy's, even if they
that's
stay out of
pretty-
that, like the Timmy's in Harrison, if they stay past that orange barrier, you can't see past them. You
Yeah.
cannot see what's coming down that highway. Like, I don't know what you do about it. 'Cause
Yeah. Basically, we just tried to make it so that it's not
too easy for them.
appealing for
Right.
them to do that, and maybe they'll carry on to another location. But
Don't tell Timmy's
That's nice.
because it's a real problem.
Yeah, it is.
Visualization.
I think the report talks about it, and Gene, when we had it wasn't the buildings there and everything, we sort of let them do it, but we realize now why you can't now because like there's a lot of deliveries, there's a lot of stuff happening there, and if you get two trucks parked there,
No.
the businesses can't operate. So it's the way it is, and as the deputy mayor said, they'll probably park on the front, which is Perth. We'll do that.
Yep.
It's the way of the world. I don't know how Harrison's. I haven't seen too many people parking on the new since you took off the barriers. So.
it's actually been working not too bad.
But I mean, they're sturdy signs too. If
Yeah.
you hit one of those, you know you
Yeah.
hit it.
If they park further up, but
Yeah.
you still can't see past them.
Well, I know,
Out towards Clifford.
Mhm.
but
Other questions?
it is what it is.
Recommendation then that the council receive the road and drainage managers July 19th, 2018 report regarding the amended parking bylaw. Consider a bylaw in open session to implement no parking on the Frank Lambier Court and the Noble Family Road. Mover in the second. Councillor Elliott. All in favor of this motion? Against? Carried. Thank you. The fourth item. Roads
Oh,
and
it's back
drainage
to road
manager.
back to road foreman here. Got multiple titles.
Yeah.
Has to do with the
Lots to
minimum maintenance standard update for sidewalks.
Yeah, so this report's actually, it's almost like a three-part report. The first kind of section refers to the sidewalk replacement program that we put out to tender earlier in the season, and showing some of the opportunities to spend the unspent capital and operating budgets here, just with a few of the different projects available. And then the second part is kind of the effects of the new minimum maintenance standards for the sidewalks, some of the increased duties that's going to be imposed on the municipality. Nothing that's really unattainable, and won't really. I don't foresee any major financial burdens placed on us. There will be an increase in the capital and operating budgets over the next few years to be able to accommodate some of these things, but it's definitely achievable moving forward. Is there any questions?
Questions on this? Sidewalks, it's a long report as well. CIO White?
Mr. Chair, just to point out, and I agree with Mike that it's something that we can accommodate, but what basically the rule is now with sidewalks is if you have it, you have to plow it. So there won't be sidewalks over time that we will be unplowed. That means that some of these older ones that we've sort of left, that have some useful life left, will probably come out. So you'll see fewer sidewalks in all of the urban areas. Some of those 4-foot ones that are deteriorating, we won't be able to plow, but we will be able to add in other areas. So we have to be a little bit more strategic. So you will see kind of a lower standard, particularly in non-winter months. So some people who have older sidewalks now, that may not be replaced. So I just wanted to put that out.
Yeah, that's correct. And with the maps are kind of confusing that are out there. But if you look at right now,
Yeah.
So the red what's outlined in red is the current winter operations. The black are some of they're the remainder of the current sidewalks. And then what is proposed in the blue is taking the current winter operations and including some of the newer areas to get the people from the whole community to where they need to go within the town. So, and that's the same for all three centers that are included in the maps there.
Well, if I may, Mike, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
The light blue sidewalks, that map would be the new 5-foot, 1.5 meter standard with the drop at the curb and the plates in the end and all that accessibility stuff. So you'll have better sidewalks, but in fewer areas.
Councilor Elliott.
It's probably going to help us by getting new ones because your job becomes twice as hard come springtime because our big snow removal equipment cuts holes or rifts in the lawn. We've got to deal with those complaints and fix those.
Yeah.
Save situation.
Yeah.
The question I might have is how are you going to determine what sidewalks you should not replace that we're going to pull out?
Yeah.
Great. School kids.
Yes. So basically, what we did when we came up with this kind of layout is taking the existing sidewalk maintenance that we did for winter operations with the school zones, and then just expand out to all the other corners of the urban centers. And this would be basically a working document. This is what we foresee being attainable at this current, like over the next few years. Once this is attained, then there is potential to put others in other strategic areas to link future developments, or if there's other inquiries that come forward where they're seeing a need for them in other areas, we can expand on that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And just on that, like Adelaide's there at one time, that wasn't a necessity, but demographics change, right? So, and in those cases, they identify that they've got 17, 18 kids there now. So we have to look forward to that as well. I no problem with delaying it till next year and doing some design. But what'll happen is, the way I read it is, what Bill was saying is, if you've got a plowable one on one side, you may not have it on both sides. Yeah. If one on the other side is small, we may just have to say, I'm sorry, there's a sidewalk to get you from A to B. That way we'll be able to get more of those 5-foot sidewalks in and get more connections. but you may not have it on both sides, Ron. I mean, you might have to give it up.
Oh,
on both
and
sides.
that's, I certainly.
But I
understand.
would hope that we could, you know, if you have it on both sides, we retain one of them anyways. Like,
Yeah.
that would make one.
And one other thing, sorry. Just for alignment too, we try to keep the sidewalks on the same side for even ease of winter operations,
Right.
so that the operators don't become confused as to where they may be.
Other questions? Okay, so the recommendation is that the council receives the report from the roads foreman dated July 25th, 2018 regarding minimum standards sidewalk update and direct staff to apply remaining funds to the Cumberland Street and Prospect Street sidewalks in Palmerston. Boulevard repairs consistent with the new standards and design for the Adelaide Street Harriston sidewalk, and that staff brings forward a sidewalk policy addressing the maintenance standards in Ontario Regulation 3661. Mover, Councillor Seconder.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
They're afraid you're gonna mess me up again.
Just,
They're afraid to put my hand up.
All in favor of the motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much.
All right. So it's been a long day. It's been a long day.
Pass the chair back to our mayor.
And I'll turn it over to the chair of finance.
And we have the last item on the agenda.
Wow. Lucky you.
The treasurer.
Oh, there, and my power just left me.
You should change it to accounts, treasurer's approval of, and then you could be first on the agenda.
Yeah, I think there's an alphabetical rule or something.
Is that the problem?
We usually
think so.
I know, like
That's
right
last.
at the end. This time. My goodness.
And I turn it over to Treasurer Duff,
Yeah,
please.
thanks, Chair Caldwell. So since we haven't met for a month, we've got two batches of accounts to kind of go through. And first one was on July the 16th. One of our bigger expenditures was the down payment on the fire pumper for $107,000. We've been busy trimming trees in all three towns for about $11,000. The other thing, I think they've left now, but you probably saw Roberso. You'd drive down the street and there'd be a manhole and some barricades and that. So that's doing the camera work on the sanitary. So that was about $123,000, but hopefully it'll give us a lot of good work for all that. And the John Street pumping station, again in Harrison, that's the one we had Xterra doing, and that was about $57,000. And we updated the website, as Belinda mentioned, too, for $3,700. So that's the main things in that one. And then in the last one, quite a bit of recreation things that Al's been busy with. Some flooring in the arena for $15,000. One of the compressors, virtually $40,000. Batting cages for just under $8,000. And then I guess Murrayfield Excavating, another progress payment in Clifford for $246,000. Engineering of about $80,000, and some line painting, and you've probably seen that done for about $7,700. So. And more trees for $8,000. So we've been doing a lot of maintenance and capital right in the middle of construction season. So.
Are there any questions? Recommendation is the council of the town of Minto receives the treasurer's report dated July 31st, 2018 regarding approval of accounts and approves the town of Minto accounts by department for June and July 2018. Moved by Mayor Bridge, seconded by Councillor Turton, all in favor. And the motion is passed, and I turn the chair back to Mayor Bridge.
Thank you. We're getting there, people. It's been a long, but you know, when you only do one a month, you expect this, right? So
maybe we should smarten up and do two.
Well, I guess, though, you know what? We'll be busy the rest of the month.
I enjoyed that.
Anyways. Yeah. Okay, so other additional businesses disclosed that we're looking at. And I've got a list here. We'll start off with Judy.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I just wanted to report to council that I attended the Drew Barbecue in support of Frank Crispin. There was over 400 people fed.
I couldn't get a ticket.
in very short order. It was sold out quite a while ahead of time, actually. There was lots of silent auction items, a lot of representation from our local businesses and residents as well. There was a live auction that was looked after by Barry, Kim, and Kevin Gray. There was music, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who was there playing, but anyways, it was a great community event in Drew, and they raised over $20,000.
Oh, amazing.
Nice.
And there's lots of stuff coming up this weekend, but other people will tell you about that, I think.
Yeah. I figured I got Dave to go next.
Yeah, I was pretty sure he'd be on.
I'll let him talk a bit about it, I'm sure.
So anybody that hasn't voted for the cool cones, it's still open. I think it's this weekend, so please get your votes in. The Mayor's Golf Tournaments, this is the weekend of the Canada Packers reunion.
Yep.
And the Mayor's Golf Tournament is on Thursday, and I think there's a record number of teams signed up at 37.
37, yeah.
We're full.
Over full.
Over full. That's good. So Friday night is the Kinsman Beef Barbecue, and then Saturday morning early, 7 o'clock is the Harrison Legion breakfast, and then there's events all day on the main street. So come on down, come on downtown, and then Saturday night is the Savor. Sunday morning is the Historical Society's having a breakfast at the arena. So please come out and support this. There's been a lot of time and effort put into it. Not quite as much as a clown match.
Well, we do get tickets.
You
I
didn't
don't think
mention,
he heard that.
Thank you.
didn't get mentioned as much.
I was checking that.
Just a little other plug. I think it's a great idea. It's a $75 weekend.
Yes, that's right.
And
I got 2 tickets for that.
and that gets you all what Dave said. So that's good.
And a bag of
And
goodies.
they still got and a bag of goodies. There is some. There are still some available.
Oh yeah.
But we're selling good.
And if you can't come for the weekend, come out and support the local individual events. Thank you.
Hey, Ron. Ron.
No.
Ron.
Go ahead, Ron.
No, I'm good.
Actually, Ron doesn't have anything at you, Ron.
Okay. Well, I have a motion.
I've reformed.
from the Council, and heartfelt. A couple weeks ago, we had a young fellow die in a car accident, apparently killed by impaired drug person. He left behind 3 kids and a wife. Wonderful man. Unfortunately, drugs in our community led to this. The concern I have is we do have drugs in our community, and people have since came to me, talked to me about what's happening, how we're dealing with that, whether our Allegan County OPP are dealing with it, and I reassured them that certainly knowing our OPP and what they have, what they do, they are trying to deal with it. But what I'm hoping to do, motion forward, asking Wellington OPP if they would reassure our people in some sense on what policies, what they hope to do without revealing anything that they shouldn't, that they are moving forward to try and eliminate the use of meth and other illegal drugs in our community. Also knowing a young fellow that died of fentanyl. He's from our community too. It's a disease that our young people, and not necessarily always young, got into. Once they get into it, turns into a theft. That car that hit him was a stolen vehicle. They stole the vehicle because they have to redo their habit. It can't work because they've got this habit that all circles around. So I'm hoping that by bringing this motion forward, that it'll help reassure our people in the town of Minto that our police, our people are trying to do what they can to solve this problem, at least put a dent in it. So I'll read the motion, and I've got Councillor Turton to second it for me. I'll read it to you, and You can see whether agree with it or not. The Council of the Town of Minto requests that the Wellington County OPP provide information about their legal drug policies and reassure Town of Minto they are being proactive with respect to these drug policies and in what ways the Town of Minto Council could assist. And it's moved by myself and second. And anybody has any comments or anything? I think we're not asking them, we're just asking something to come forward, and asking them where we could help them, and letting our community know that somebody is doing something.
Dean, and then
I have a couple comments about that. I mean, it's truly tragic what happened. More disconcerting yet, though, was that he was arrested 2 weeks prior to that
Absolutely.
for the same thing. But I think the police, their hands are tied. So the motion needs to go higher. Like, and I mean, we're going to run into this when the cannabis is legalized because we do not have the testing facilities honed down yet. And what constitutes inability to operate a motorized vehicle when under the influence of marijuana? I don't know that anybody has an answer to that yet. So, you know, the police do the best that they can, and the problem is deep-seated and has been going on. I used to sit on a committee 20 years ago looking at meth use. They couldn't understand why it's so high here. It's so high here because we have co-ops, and co-ops carry everything that you need to make it, which city people can't get a hold of. So it's easy to get a hold of the stuff and they can make it. But I mean, that's just one part of the problem. So the laws need to be much higher than this. To like our local police can only do so much. They arrest them, they bring them in, and there's nothing to hold them with, and away they go to do it again. So I don't know how to fix it.
I'm just hoping that this would come back. This may be part of the concerns of the OPP, and it's something I'm asking what the Town of Minto Council can do to assist. They may say, lobby for a better system.
Sure, and I think it's reasonable that we put our support there. They certainly need all the support they can get.
And I'm thinking maybe they'll tell us what they need.
Perhaps.
I'm open.
maybe.
I agree with it. I'm not necessarily if we need a motion or just a request to the OPP to come and give us a report.
Well, I think
on your concerns and where they're at.
I think that's part of that. So I just made a motion so that we could all agree to it.
And I guess that's what I would suggest, Ron, because Scott Larson, Inspector Larson, has said any time that we have an issue or we want, we can ask him to come. We can maybe get him on the September 1. And this isn't just us. They've got it here and they've got it everywhere. And maybe an update from the OPP of now. And as you said, and I think you pointed out in your motion or before your motion, they have strategies they're doing that we don't see, and they can't get into that. But I think it is a county issue as well as a local issue. So if you want me to request them to come and talk to us,
this could be part of that motion.
Yeah, and
I don't think we need to pass.
I don't know how formal we need to be. I mean, certainly we can request them come and discuss what you're saying. I don't know how. What do you think, Bill? I don't know how it.
I mean, this generic motion.
Yeah,
that's generic enough.
Yeah, Councillor Turk. So I guess you should vote on it, maybe.
But should we add there that we're asking them? Because I think read the motion again, Ron, and
it's very generic in the fact that it says the Council of Town of Minto requests the Wellington County OPP provide information about the illegal drug policies and reassure the Town of Minto that are being proactive with respect to these drug policies. And and in what ways the Town of Minto Council could assist. Yeah, and we're not asking for anything that.
I know. The only thing
why would that be a problem?
Well, no, I'm just saying in my own concern, and I know how Scott and we've had discussions at police services and whatever. But you don't want to make it look like they're not trying. I think.
I don't think that.
Gene has a point. Some of the stuff is their hands are tied, but I have no problem going with the motion and as a request to them come.
I don't think that's saying. Just reassure the town that they are doing something. That's not saying we're not asking them. We're going to raid this bus. We're going to undercover people here. We're doing this. We're doing that.
No, I know they're actively involved.
They're actively involved in the drug, and people are saying what are the OPP doing? And they can say, we are working very diligently towards that. I assume they are, but do we have anything on that? We don't. So that's all I'm asking. If they reassure the people that they are working.
Yeah, they have a unit.
Yeah. And I didn't.
That unit's very busy. Anyways, but we can get him to come in September to do a report.
That could be part of that. We'll provide information.
Yeah, I mean that would be my only concern, and it's not because I know they're upset about this as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
And
I know that.
we have pockets, and they know. And they know when people get out, they know who's doing it, and they know when they put them back in jail, they go back in jail for a while, and that goes away for a while, and then it comes back out again.
Yes.
And it's pretty scary stuff.
I believe something like this. I'm sorry, Judy.
That's okay.
Judy has her hand up.
Go ahead, Judy.
Well, if we're going to go the route of this motion, I don't want to be wordsmithing too much here, but I wouldn't want to say OP provide information about their illegal drug policies, because that's not what we want to know. We're assuming the OPP has no illegal drug. The way you read it was fine about illegal drug policies. I'd want to take that there.
So there.
Yeah, I would take it there,
Sure.
which is what you read, but that's not what it says.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, I think it's a request. It's sort of requested. We'll send that. We're saying we're going to do it.
Yeah. We'll just take the word there out of there. And that's just.
Yeah, I have no problem. And I know Scott will come and discuss whatever strategies they possibly can discuss.
And
I guess I'm just asking, do we need a motion for him to do that?
No, you wouldn't necessarily, but if you want to,
request that we
well, that's what the motion is.
give a broad background that says, this is what we're concerned about. We want to help. Can you come and talk to us?
What's your thoughts?
Well, the motion isn't going to hurt anything.
No.
No, it's just asking for information.
Yeah, and we've always said the
motion is on the floor.
Yeah.
We vote for it or against it, and then after that, then the mayor asks Inspector Lawson to come and present.
That's fine.
That's the way it's got to be. What's that?
The fact that we made a motion won't be.
No, not at all.
I don't
not
think so.
at all.
I don't think
no different than asking.
Because he's many times said if we have any issues or any concerns, he would come and talk to us at any time. So he said that to me many times.
There's nothing in this motion.
No.
It's a message to the
all right.
public.
So all in favor of the motion was, and I'll send a letter. Okay. Against? Good. Okay. All right. Oh, I should have gone before that. Mine's more fun. Anyways, two things. We already talked about, yeah. So the fair, the Palmerston Fair is coming up, and we won't have another meeting. So I want to know how everybody wants to. Do we want to use the train? That's what we usually do at the fair. Use the little train.
Whatever you'd like to do.
It'll be the Friday the 24th, isn't it?
No, it's not that. Oh, sorry, Palmerston, yes.
Yeah, well, I'll get Emmeline to send her a note.
Yep.
And but I thought that's if you want to go as a council. And I didn't know because it's election year whether you want to go in your own vehicles or whatever you want to do. Up to you. Some of us don't have to run, you know.
We're still a council. We're still a council, so.
Yeah. But okay, so let's do it as a council as normal, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right. That's all I had. Now we're moving.
Mayor Bridge, I had one quick thing. Please check your emails. We did get 3 delegations at AMO.
Oh yes. And by the way, I'm in all 3. I don't know how I must hit the wrong button.
Okay. Yeah. So it'll be busy.
Hey, and I have 2 other ones. So moved by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Dirksen, that the committee of the whole convenes a regular council meeting. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Anderson, seconded by Councilor Turton. The Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motion made in the committee of the whole. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Caldwell, seconded by Councilor Elliott, the bylaw number 2018-57 to temporarily close roads in Harrison on September 16, 2018 for the community event be introduced, read, first, second, and third time, passed on Council Seal Corporation. All in favor? That for the parade? No. Oh, the soapbox road, yeah.
All fair.
Fair, yeah, it's parade, yeah, it's a man. For the soapbox. Moved by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, seconded by Councilor Anderson, the bylaw number 2018-58 to temporarily close the roads in Harrison on August the 11th and 12th 2018 for community events be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed with the council seal the corporation. All in favor? Good thing we did that, or we'd have a big problem. Let's talk about that. No. Moved by Councilor Turton, second by Councilor Dirksen, that the bylaw number 2018-59 for the first amending parking lot bylaw 5005 introduced and read first, second, and third time, passed over council, and seal the corporation. All in favor?
County numbering system.
Yeah, county. Yeah. I can't read the next one.
Okay, I gotta read the next one. Okay, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Turton, that bylaw 2018-60 to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement with 2380681 Ontario Incorporated, 55 Middle Road, Palmerston, be introduced and read a first, second time, and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor?
Are we reading it a third time or just two?
It just says for a second time.
Should be third.
So write in and third time.
Otherwise,
I was listening.
good for you. I
Well,
can't.
that's what
I turned my brain right off because I'm not allowed to hear that.
Participating in the conversation.
Did they all say second?
These ones do.
time and seal, and that's deputy mayor. All in favor? Declare the motion carried.
Okay, here we go. Moved by Councilor Dirksen, second by Councilor Caldwell. Bylaw number 2018-61 to authorize execution of site plan agreement with J.A. DeVries Construction Limited, 141 Frank Lambier Court, Palmerston, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed over council seal the corporation. All in favor?
Aye.
Moved by Councilor Hanson, second by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, the bylaw number 2018-62 to amend the bylaw 2016-31, the bylaw to regulate the license and keeping of dogs and dog kennels in the town of Minto be introduced, read first, second, third time, passed over council seal the corporation. All in favor? Councilor Elliott. Moved by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Anderson, that the bylaw number 2018-63 to amend the zoning for 5411 7th line Minto and agriculture to agriculture exception be introduced, read first, second, third time, and passed over council seal the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Turton, second by Councilor Dirksen, the bylaw number 2018-64 to authorize a signed lease agreement for the town-owned lands Quality Homes developed be introduced, read first, second, and third time, passed over council seal the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Caldwell, second by Councilor Anderson, the bylaw number 2018-65 to confirm the actions of the council of the corporation of the town of Minto respecting a meeting held August 7th, 2018 be introduced, read first, second, and third time, passed over council seal the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Caldwell, second by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, the council of town of Minto adjourns the meeting and to the call of the mayor. All in favor? Good meeting, everybody. Well done.